Hi, my name is Christina Walker, and today I'll be speaking to you on behalf of the NFL. I'm going to share a little bit of information about the Ray Rice situation, how we handled it, how we should have handled it, and what we could have did a little bit differently moving forward with other investigations in the future. So to jump right in, we're going to start with PR challenges. These were some of the things that we kind of faced going into the Ray Rice situation. The main thing we faced was the digital landscape. So this was in 2014. This was a time when social media was really at its dominance. You already had Facebook that was started and Instagram kind of just becoming a really popular, and then Twitter really being the main source of news at the time, especially for our younger generation, and most of our followers actually got their news from Twitter. So here we're in the age where news traveled far and it traveled fast. So as the NFL, we had this challenge where we had to always make sure we were in front of the story, which you'll find out later that we weren't. But just that was one of the challenges that we faced. Also at the time, it was just unprecedented. There wasn't really an incident involving a professional athlete that was videotaped. Like, this was something so different. I remember in class, we mentioned about Tiger Woods and how that story would have kind of played out a little bit differently if it was kind of in that digital landscape where the story was kind of always being shared over and over, and how that would have affected the story a little bit more with social media. So this was such a different time when we were dealing with this. Like, there was no league that really kind of dealt with this prior to us. So there was nothing we can look back and say, hey, how can we really go about this? Yeah, it was just unprecedented. Number three is just the messaging. The messaging was a big PR challenge for us because we had to create concise messaging across all platforms, which is very hard when you have so many teams, and then you have team PR, you have us also handling it, you have the players, publicists also handling it. So that's a huge challenge for us to face when we're such a large organization with different bodies kind of just attached to us as well. So that was also a really hard challenge. So right now, I just kind of want to break down what we actually did. I want to go over three key things that we actually did, and just maybe a little bit differently we'll do the next time. But these are the three main things that we did as the NFL. So on July 24th, we were kind of slow to respond. The team had already responded before us, and we were getting a lot of backlash. And that's when our commissioner decided, hey, let's suspend Rice for 2 games. We had a lot of backlash off of this because, as you know, we're very strict with our drug policy, but our policy for domestic violence wasn't as strong. So in August of 28th, we actually strengthened our domestic violence policy. And we got a lot of backlash for this because, once again, it wasn't already in place. And we actually hired in Mueller, who at the time was the head of the FBI. And we really thought this would be such a great thing to do, to really bring someone in who knew exactly what he was talking about, what he was doing. And Robert Mueller was great. But the thing is, when he released all the findings, it was more so like we weren't prepared on our part. We didn't do an investigation thoroughly. We didn't look at the videos. And basically, it was a backlash because those facts were presented to the media, it just made us look bad once again. So that was just one of the things we did as well. And then in September 8th, a little bit after that second video was released showing Rice actually striking his girlfriend, we suspended him indefinitely. So those are the things that we did. We also got backlash for that too. Most people wondering why it took that long. And then the messaging was just all off of like, did we know about the video? Why didn't we know about the video? So that was one of the things that we really had a time kind of just going through and struggling with. So that's the main things I wanted you to get out of what we did as the NFL. So this next slide is going to actually show you what we could have done. And in PR, it's very important to be proactive instead of reactive. So we always need to stay ahead of the media. In the future, this is what we hope to do. When an incident like this happens, we want to make sure that we're right after it. We're in front of it. We know the landscape. We know what the media is saying. We know what the fans are saying. In class, we had Lauren come and speak to us, and she said, it's always important to know the narrative in the media. Know what the attitude towards your clients is. At the time, I feel like no one within our organization actually knew what people were really saying about us. We were always behind the story. There was always this leak of information and we didn't know about it. There was always this team owner kind of coming out saying what he would have done and we didn't know about it. So that was one of the things that we really needed to do, was just to be proactive instead of reactive. Number 2, investigate. Investigate on our own. Robert Mueller, the head of the FBI, even told us this in his report. It would have been very important for us to get the videos from the start, to actually investigate, to actually contact the casino, actually head up our own investigation separately, and then strategically present those findings. So whether we had a conference after we did our investigation, if we had that set that narrative, like we were in front of it, we were working very hard to find out what happened before we released some type of penalty against him. I feel like that would have been very, very important. And as a publicist, to strategically release that information to news sources so they can know how to word it. So like always making sure the narrative is we're on top of our story. We're doing the best we can to investigate on our own as well, and just make sure we have that out there in the media as well. So number 3 is going back to just really creating that narrative. That is something that we didn't do, and moving forward, we need to make sure that we're doing that. Because we're such a huge organization, we're known worldwide. There's no reason that we don't have these connections to create our narratives. We don't have these connections in the media to do so. Like, we have them and we need to thoroughly use them. So one of the main things we could have done is make sure there was this narrative that we were on top of things. We were abreast to what was transpiring during the legal investigation. We were cooperating on all ends to make sure that we judged Ray Rice fairly and gave him the suspension or any type of penalty that he deserved. And we really were coming up with the best policies to put in place so things like this can't happen in the future, or won't happen in the future with our players, where we don't know what to do. And then one of the biggest challenges we faced, like I said, was just that concise messaging. So moving forward, what we should have really done is collaborate with the Ravens organization. There was no need for the Ravens to really be coming out with their own statements. That was kind of just a little bit different from what we were saying. It was just also, you had team owners maybe chatting about it, and it just wasn't concise messaging. There was no messaging that really was like a cohesive unit to other teams or the league, where it looks like we were on top of our things. It was like the Ravens are doing their own thing, then the NFL are doing our own thing, and that just wasn't a really good look for us. So moving forward, we need to make sure when something like this happens, we have meetings with all the team owners. We let them know what their PR team should be releasing and how the messaging should line up with the league's messaging as well when it's this type of situation. So that way the news isn't being misconstrued in any type of way, or people are taking, well, this is what the team said versus what this is what the league said. So we want to be this more cohesive unit, and I think moving forward that would be the best thing for us. So yeah, that's all the information that I have for you guys today. If you have any questions, you can just email me. I just really wanted to reiterate those 3 key facts of what we should do moving forward, which is to be proactive instead of reactive, to investigate our own within house, and to create the narrative. Always stay in front of the narrative, always know what the media is saying, and also know what our fans are saying. This is a digital landscape, and these are some of the things that we need to stay on top of as publicists, especially for an organization as big as the National Football League. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.